We finally get to cover the Lone Star State because in November of 2020, a bill was introduced into the Texas legislature. We're talking about TX HB 94, and it has a sister bill that is TX SB 90 because Texas has a House and the Senate. And so today we're going to be talking about those types of bills. If you want to get into the medical marijuana industry in Texas, if you want a medical marijuana license to consume it, sure, we're going to cover that a little bit, but this show usually focuses more on the commercial aspect of it. So how can you get a cannabis business license in Texas? It is going to be discussed. We're going to go into the statutes here really quickly on a Texas Longhorn edition of. Hello, my name is Tom. I'm a cannabis lawyer. You can find me on Cannabis Legalization News or my blog, Cannabis Industry Lawyer. I'm a lawyer at the firm of Collateral Base. We help businesses create their applications, their business plans. Josh Kincaid and I have made a pitch deck course. Well, it's not a course, it's a workflow so that you can understand the cash flow opportunities in the cannabis license that you are after. Thumbs ups and subscribes for news about the cannabis industry. Today, we're going to talk about what they're planning on doing in Texas. So I'm not able to put links in our descriptions anymore. This one might not have gotten us disqualified because we would actually be linking out to the Texas official bill thing from the Texas government itself. Now, this is Texas HB 94. That was Ron Reynolds. That is who sponsored it. It was introduced on November 9th. So that is the status of this bill. I believe I shared this in the comments. You can find it there. If you're from Texas, give us a thumbs up. Tune in because we'll be discussing more and more about Texas as it may actually become a medical operator. But is it going to be like Oklahoma? Can you get a license and get into business in Texas marijuana? Well, no, you cannot. Why? Because they don't call it marijuana in Texas. One of the cool things about this bill is that it actually does call it cannabis. And so it's right there. It says cannabis testing facility, and it's a medical cannabis program in Texas. So that's great. But what is the licensing contemplation that's in there? And the licensing contemplation isn't the best in the sense that there's a few different ways that you can do the medical market. Sometimes they do a very open market. That would be Oklahoma at its core, is the most open market in the country. And then you have state unlimited markets where the state doesn't say how many licenses you can have, but the municipalities will say how many licenses you have. And some licenses are mandatorily vertically integrated. And that's more of an Arizona and a Florida issue. And however, unfortunately, when I was trying to find the terms that they have dispensary organizations, and they have a definition for the dispensary organization. And these are twin bills. And so the Senate one I have already pulled up. How can you be eligible to operate as a dispensing organization? Well, there are criteria under section 1.09 of the Texas version. That's the SB 90 version. Let's go check them out. And so, to be eligible for a license, an applicant for a license to operate a dispensing organization is eligible for a license if, as determined by the department, the applicant possesses the technical and technological ability to cultivate and produce medical cannabis. You can see they had a strike through of low THC, so low THC is out. That's good. B, the ability to secure, and then sub 1, the resources and personnel necessary to operate as a dispensing organization. And notice that I'm stressing the and. Please take notice of me stressing the and. Okay, and so, and 2, premises reasonably located to allow patients listed on a compassionate use registry access to the organization through existing infrastructure, semicolon C, the ability to maintain accountability for raw materials, finished product, and any byproduct produced in the cultivation or production of medical cannabis to prevent unlawful access or unlawful diversion or possession of those materials, products, and byproducts, semicolon, and D, the financial ability to maintain operations for not less than 2 years from the date of application, semicolon. 2, each director, manager, or employee in the application is registered under subchapter D, semicolon, and the applicant satisfies any additional criteria as determined by the director necessary to safely implement this chapter. So what does that mean? That means, quite simply, that Texas is going to be a monolithic, vertically integrated state according to these types of laws that are proposed. It hasn't passed. If that's what they're going, it may not pass. If you are in Texas, please tag your elected representative. Send them this and say, like, no, don't do this vertical integrated monolith. Do something that's more horizontal, so that Texas business people like you can also get into the industry and help patients. For example, the financial ability to maintain operations for not less than 2 years for the date of application. Wow. And so, like, not only do you have to do every single thing in the supply chain of the cannabis industry, you have to be able to just sit there and lose money for 2 years. So it will, I mean, like, I know they do things bigger in Texas, but think about how expensive like a Florida or an Arizona license can be. Yikes. It looks like it's, or a Georgia license. A Georgia license would also be very expensive. So it appears that what they are contemplating in Texas would be a similar vertically integrated license. So please tell the people in Texas who do represent you, Mr. and Mrs. Texan, that you should have a more open market. So those ands, they should be ors. The way that they defined it was this dispensing organization isn't just a dispensing organization. It's also a grower and a processor, and a dispensing organization. Plus it sounds like it's also like has to have a bank vault as well. It's something else. And this is this turns us to the next thing that it kind of reminded me of. You see, because the Texas law that is proposed is a little bit rigged. I was wondering if that had anything to do with this new Texas lawsuit that's come out. And so, like, if you look at this, a cacophony of bogus claims over 25 states and territories, slamming the Texas Supreme Courts and the Attorney General's lawsuit to try to overturn other states' elections. So, Texas, please do marijuana correctly and stop telling other states what to do. And then Elon Musk is also moving to Texas. Did you hear that? And so, why? It appears that it'll save him several $billions. So I realize that all these billionaire magnates are moving to Texas, and now the Texas cannabis law is shaping up to only support a handful of hugely capitalized vertical operators. That stinks for the average Texas business person. And hopefully the average Texas business person gets a seat at the table in the cannabis industry in the Lone Star State. If you enjoyed all this, remember, my name is Tom. You can find me by Googling Cannabis Lawyer. Please go to our website if you are trying to get into the cannabis industry or operating already and want to reach out and see how we can help. Go to our cannabisindustrylawyer.com/get-started. So if you just go to our page, this chart is up a lot, and all these get started buttons reroute to it, so you'll be able to find it. We're going to add more information on our map page because we're doing a Texas show right now. The problem with the Texas show is that it appears to be a vertically integrated one, and that vertically integrated one, let's go over the states. We can kind of go over them. Okay, so Texas looks like it wants to go vertically integrated. Florida's like that. Arizona's like that. And so the Arizona application, if people want to get in for a dispensary or for a grow or a process, you probably are going to need to put business partners together or at least contract for that because it's vertical. And so we don't really support that. I think Michigan's doing a good job. New Jersey just had their thing that they're SB, so we're going to review that, kind of like how we reviewed these bills in Texas. If you are in Texas, I would tell you to write your legislature and tell them, open the market, make sure that it's horizontal. And who should limit the licenses? Look at how they do it. Like, let's talk about how they do it really quickly in Michigan and in California, so that you in Texas can help their legislature, their representatives. They don't know what they're doing. It's cannabis, gosh darn it. And you can help them not make the mistakes that they make in like Florida or in Arizona, which just locks out the industry except for to the very large players. You can have a two-step process with the state and then the municipality, and then the municipality sets the numbers of licenses, not the state. And then, of course, you can stratify the license. So you can be vertically integrated, but that might take like 5 different licenses, not one. Anyway, hopefully you have enjoyed all this. If you have, give us a like, give us a subscribe. And if you're watching this late at night, I'm assuming that it is.